Tonight we have an exciting meeting, and we'll start off with a presentation. Mr. Landrum.
Yes, tonight is, we already started it today with the Oversight Committee meeting. Our first was held today, and I want to introduce to you Stantec as a company first. They've been in business since 1954, so they've been around. One thing that was really exciting with us doing our request for qualifications was the number of people that submitted, the number of companies. There was 12. For, Delhi, we would always consider Delhi as little Delhi. We're not Columbus, we're not Cincinnati, we're not this Chicago or something like that. So when we got that amount of interest, we knew that myself and Tom and Catherine's feelings were correct. We were on to something. I presented to you Stantec, and with Stantec, they committed to a smaller version, a sub, it's not a company, but a section of them called Urban Places Group, in which Steve Kearney is going to be our project manager. Steve joins us he's had many years experience even with another city at a point in time, so he does have government experience. This is not his first rodeo. So Stantec has more than 15,000 employees and over 250 locations. They do have a Cincinnati office as well. So there's a lot to be said. I'm going to let Steve start here, and if you'd welcome him, and remind everybody 6:30 tonight at the lodge, as soon as we can get out of here. So as soon as I can be quiet and let Steve take it from here. Steve, you're on.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I have a presentation here. Now, let me, hold on. It's coming up. Okay, great. I have a presentation that's coming up. It is, essentially the presentation I gave to the Oversight Committee today and a version of what will be presented to the public tonight. I will speak quickly and go through the slides quickly. I've got a 15-minute time frame that I'll hold to, and I promise I'll hold to it. So if there's something that I jump over that catches your eye, please just stop me or ask a question at the end. So quickly, next slide. Really just want to talk about, introduce who we are. Pete just gave us a good sense of it. But I want to talk about, the process that we'll be going through, the market focus. That's very important to us. It's how we do our planning and how we'll do it here. I want to speak to why this probably is the right time to be conducting a plan, this time in many cities and townships. I want to give a quick overview of the planning process and then just speak to how we'll, involve the community and how we, really consider community engagement so important. So next slide, which is, again, just said, Stantec, 15,000 employees strong. We were brought on a group of about 15 now to help them understand and be more focused on urban development. And again, when we talk about urban development, we really are talking about creating that urban environment. It's both in a city and a small town, but it is the area where the community comes together, lives together, celebrates together, shops, works together, plays together, and that is the area that we really like to work within existing communities and sometimes new communities, but we like to build that environment. Next slide. Just to point out the reason why we came to Stantec, what we were excited about and what's been effective, very effective so far, we have offices across the country, in Cincinnati and in Columbus, environmental experts, transportation experts, you name it, engineers, civil, infrastructure. We can reach out to all of them when we need something, and that is what's so important to us as we work in cities across the country. Next slide. And again, we can skip at urban environments. This is a project in Columbus, Ohio. Our team, I am the project manager. David Dixon, who will be here for the 3-day big event in June, is the principal. National renowned really as an urban planner, urban designer, has been doing it for about 40 years. And I followed over. He's been important to this process, and he's pulling it all together. In addition, again, on urban planning, we have the market analysis. I'll speak to them on the next slide, so perfect timing. This market-driven approach, we have two major market analysts on our team. Both work nationally, and they are WZVA, Zimmerman Voke Associates, and WZHA. Lori at ZVA, Zimmerman Voke, she does our residential market analysis. This is critical to our work because it will tell us, over the next 5 to 7 years, how many new households would likely come into Delhi Township, what they're looking for in terms of housing type, be it single family through multifamily, multifamily, townhomes, owner, and rental. It'll tell us how much they're willing to pay, how much they're able to pay, and what size of a unit they are looking for. That helps us shape our plans in a very realistic way. Next slide. The way that we can do that, and once we have that information, we start to do the financing. We've met with stakeholders from, already about 15 stakeholders. We'll continue to meet with them. For those who I've met with, a few in this room, what I keep saying is what we're trying to do on this first trip, on each trip coming up, is identify the entities, organizations, individuals, property owners who have an opportunity or are interested or possibly could connect with other implementers to actually hit opportunities right off the bat. Our goal is to see implementation activities and initiatives occurring right from the moment the plan is adopted. Next slide. And again, I just went through the housing, but again, it is important to develop the density, the environment, the 18-hour likely in Delhi Township, but it creates activity on the street, which creates the safety and creates the environment we're looking for. Next. And this is essentially what's important about our residential market analysis is we're not looking at comps, we're looking at future mobility, where individuals are moving to, both from within the region and outside the region, who's coming here, and then we'll take a look at who are they, how old are they, what are their preferences, and it'll help us understand, are we designing and planning for millennials, for empty nesters, or for a market in between, Gen Xers, which unfortunately, being one of them, we're one of the smallest, so no one pays that much attention to us. We're not driving markets. The other two are, but we need to know which side because it helps us understand what we're going for. Next slide. Again, I'm going to go through several examples of work that we have done. This is current right now, Miami Township, Ohio, Dayton Mall Area Master Plan. And again, to give you a sense of what I just went through, yellow is residential, red on the first floor is retail. This is a very careful study based on what the market that we feel we can achieve over the next 10 years and how, in that sense, we can create a new main street going across what is right now the mall property. If for anyone who knows the area, Mad River is a street that we would essentially be connecting all the way down to Miami Township's municipal property and the library. And again, for us, a very exciting way to connect a regional destination shopping, which is important, with the cultural and civic activities of a township, and doing so and creating a new town center for Miami Township, which is what they're calling for. Next slide. High Street, Columbus, Ohio, just to show how you can really create a there from an area that had not had it or didn't have it for a long time. This was one of our first projects, David Dixon, in Columbus, and really it's millions of square feet of student housing and market rate housing retail. It has transformed the area around OSU. Next. And East Franklinton, one of my favorite, also in Columbus. And this was about Mayor Coleman, who's looking for an arts and innovation district. And what we were able to do is show how you can design that and create an affordable component into it long term. The reason why I wanted to show this as an example is because it's basically saying there's ways to look at what is going to make a place really work. In Mayor Coleman's terms, he wanted funky. Here it may very well be, well, I know it's going to be. It's family oriented. And it's been great. I've heard it from every single person that we've spoken to. I'm assuming I'm going to hear that message tonight. And that really speaks to what we can and should be looking at in terms of design. Next, and just Dublin, Ohio, again, one of the projects that we were involved in. This is the classic retrofitting suburbia. And again, it is a result of what's happening in our cities. The suburb essentially recognized the fact that their 22 to 34-year-olds were choosing Columbus over Dublin, which was a first in a generation for them. And you'll see a couple slides that I'll zip through. There's reasons for this. Next. And Sandy Springs, we can skip, just another example. Stakeholders just beginning. This is the list over the last 2 days. Again, we'll continue. But again, I list these for any other individual stakeholders who anyone behind me as well thinks we should be speaking to. Get in touch with Peter, Catherine, and let us know. And we will meet with them when we're here, or we'll call to get the information. It's important to us to talk to as many as we can. This about families, this is just ongoing. I had no time to even pull this together. This was from today. But again, important things, about families, we want to make sure that families do continue to stay here. That is important. And, I heard slightly different, but they are coming. They typically do come back. Not on the main line, the main drag, but again, that's actually a positive as much as, it's hurting our retail side. We're looking at these. And again, the Pike is improving. That's a critical market standpoint. Most that we've spoken to says the Pike is in better shape now than it was 5 years ago. That shows the market's there. The development that's occurring shows that there's a market there. Again, building blocks that we'll start to work from. Next. And this we can skip through. Just some slides. This was some work done with Catherine over the summer. Again, just about what is important to the community. And demographics, skip, and go to the next one. And just to talk about Ohio, the point of these 3 slides is, and this is not just Ohio, it's across the country. 50 years ago, from 1950 up until 90, most households were traditional families. That was the predominant type that fueled suburban development and single-family development across the country. And as much here, you're looking at the majority of households are now 1- and 2-family households. They don't necessarily need a large property, a single-family house, and they're also older, and more so in Ohio than probably many places in this country. The age group over 55 essentially is representing all of Ohio's growth and will for the the next 20 years. Again, it's just helping us understand that there's probably a real need for diversity of housing choices. I like to say anyone who's been to the Green in Beaver Creek and some other developments, Austin Landing, just because those I'm more familiar with, but more coming down this way, the market's already telling us that many are looking for are the multifamily with amenities right nearby. And that's, again, opportunities that we'll seek to understand. Next slide. And again, I'm just going to skip, but the fact is, I always like to use golf as an example. It's lost 10 million, golfing industry has lost 10 million golfers in the last 10 years, and it's changing. Families are changing, dads aren't spending Saturdays on the golf course anymore. And what is trending is walkable streets, transit, diversity, sustainability. These are proving across our country. Next slide. And this is important too. Again, this is looking at national statistics. But in 2008, you're looking at 27% multifamily, predominantly single-family households. That is absolutely the case still. But going forward, projections are beginning to look at a higher level of multifamily, and that's something that, again, it creates an opportunity. It's not in every place, and nor will it make sense in every location. But there is an opportunity, a market that we're trying to look into. Next slide. And this is important. And again, while there's not a huge job market here, there is certainly a job market here. Something that's happening is we're not educating our young people in this country to the level that they need to be for the jobs that actually are growing and will be available. And that's just important because we want to think about that, and we want to think about what these types of jobs are, because that changes the type of space that these individuals are willing to work in. And in the case of, next slide, younger generation, and we can skip 2 slides, but they are looking, they're looking for environments where, they are having fun in and where they can work in. And that can help us likely to a small degree in terms of filling some of the office space. The fact that you have Cincinnati so close, 18 minutes away, again, is with significant job opportunities and, an immediate destination here with great schools, there's a lot of assets that we're finding and building on. This is just showing that national builders who are always focused on single family have now switched into multifamily. Again, supporting the idea that markets are changing and we're trying to understand them. Next slide. And even for the simple piece of retrofitting a parking lot in a suburban strip commercial area. This is in Denver, Colorado, a project that we did. And it is about creating a food destination, local food destination, and has been hugely successful in a fairly simple way of just building on a surface parking lot and creating a whole new environment, and even with cars, essentially a bit of a gathering space, which is, again, ideas we'll be looking at. Next slide. And this was just a whim. I want to emphasize, I put this in, I threw this image together in the proposal, and it was the idea of, you have the scale already on the Pike. When you look at your existing family 2-story that are now businesses, bumping up to 3 stories on the other side, you actually within one potential development, and I'm making this up, I made this up, but again, within one potential development, you're looking at a block of Main Street, and that could actually happen within 1 to 2 years. I mean, that's to show what we got excited about by the size, scale, and opportunities within here. Next slide. And again, I'm going to go fast right now. This is what we put into the proposal, how we start thinking about it. Next slide. This retail core, this Main Street, this gateway. I've learned over the last 2 days, retail core right on, Main Street on the right, yes. Gateway, yes, but we've got a lot of things that we need to talk about within that area, and as we learn more and more, this is going to change. Next slide. And again, this is recent just from Nels, our urban designer, who was doing the walks over yesterday and today. We're starting to look at potential sites that we might want to really start to look at. And this is we're going to hear more about this evening, and we'll continue to talk about it. The park, a great destination, great amenity. How, there's probably a nice opportunity to really create a better, stronger connection there. Next slide. And again, these catalyst sites. This is what we're going to do next. We have to figure out where we're looking. We'll come up with development concepts. We'll test them financially, and we'll show how we can get developer interest. Next slide. And this I'm going to run through in my last minute very quickly, but this is just how we will do it. We are going to look at what sites are actually available, what's the land use, what's the land value, in other words, what is the profit opportunities on these, how are we increasing the value of these properties, because again, they are private properties. Next slide. I will create a ranking for each of them. Next slide. And we'll start to layer those, the existing conditions, just slide through these slowly over on each of them so that we can help. This is what we did in Miami Township to identify the locations for development, and we will do the same here, and hopefully that will help pinpoint some of these sites or validify, make valid some of the sites we're looking at. Again, right there, and to the next. And it was a way of, next slide, of just, it pinpointed, 2 areas. Run through this because you've already seen it. You can show the area all the way to the left that has no development on there. We don't think we have an opportunity yet for that location. We can stop right there. That's what the oversight committee needs to do. It was a great oversight committee. It's been great so far. Day 2, almost over, and 5:45. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And any questions now or in the future? Pete can certainly.
I think we're going to reserve a lot of them for the lodge tonight. So
Good.
we'll finish this and see you up there.
Excellent. And that's where I'm running off to right now. So
Thank you.
thank you very much. Have a good